Welcome to LiveDaf, your online Daf Yomi Shir.
Shalom Aleichem and welcome back to today's Daf Yomi, Meseches CHULLIN Daf Ayin Daled. We begin right in the middle of the Amid at the two dots, Ben Shmoyna Chai B'Chulu. Okay, so this links back to the Mishnah, where the Mishnah made a point to say that sometimes shechita on an animal, although it cannot permit it for consumption. For instance, you have an animal which is deemed treifa. Okay, it has an internal defect. It will never be eaten. It's asr. But the shechita performed on that animal, although it won't accomplish edibility, but it will accomplish something else. It will protect it from becoming tamei. So rather than just being considered a dead animal, the shechita actually spares that status. It prevents it from sliding into an avela status. It is not going to generate tumah. And unlike a non-kosher animal, behema tmeya, where shechita has no say in the matter. Okay, so even with shechita, that animal will generate tumah. Yeah, that's because ein b'mina shechita. There's no shechita in that min, in that type, in that category of animal. So shechita there is not a player. It's not relevant as opposed to a kosher animal, where shechita is a player. Although this particular one is a treifa and cannot really benefit much from the shechita, but at least the shechita will accomplish to spare it from becoming tamei. And the Mishnah concludes with a closing statement, conceding that, there's a case actually of a kosher animal where shechita has no positive impact. That's a ben shmoyna. Ben shmoyna is an undeveloped animal fetus. An 8 month, he's not full term, not 9 months, he's only 8 months. In this case, and we're not talking that it was found inside the mother animal after shechita, of course in that case it's mutter, it's one and the same with the mother. We're speaking that he was born under term, undeveloped. He's not a fully developed, he's not considered a real animal. And in this case, shechita will not benefit him whatsoever. And you know why? Because he's a different type, a different category. You're right, there is no shechita relevant in this type of creature. It's like a new breed, the ben shmoyna. As opposed to a fully developed, fully grown sheep, goat, ox, where shechita was done, although it's a treifa animal, nevertheless, but in this type, in this category of animals, we have shechita. And therefore, it can impact it regardless of its treifa condition. V'atanya, says the Gemara, we have a brisa. Ben shmoyna chay yichiach. That actually, by looking at the ben shmoyna, this undeveloped fetus, who was born alive and shechita was attempted at it, that disproves our point. How? In this brisa, we seem to consider even a ben shmoyna as one that has shechita in its type. It's part of a group that has shechita. Nevertheless, ein shechita mitarasai. Despite being part of a greater, group which relates to shechita, nevertheless, shechita on this particular ben shmoyna will not help it in any way. Will not spare it from becoming tamei. And therefore, the same could be said about any animal which is a treifa. Shechita can't help it. Just like the unkosher animal where shechita is not a player. And this is in contrast to our Mishnah, which didn't seem to be concerned about the ben shmoyna. That's its own category. Its own category of animals which has no relation to shechita. And certainly shechita can't impact it because it doesn't relate to shechita. And here in the brisa it does. What does the brisa mean? I mean, you would think a ben shmeina really does not relate to shchita. You can't do shchita on a ben shmeina. It wouldn't become kosher. It wouldn't become. Amar Rav Kahana. Yesh b'mina shchita agav imoy. The brisa relates a ben shmeina to shchita, not on account of itself. You're right. You can't really shech a ben shmeina. It's considered undeveloped. You can never be matter that for achilat. No. Agav imoy is what the brisa means. Were it to be still in the mother's stomach during the mother's shchita, it would be covered by the mother's shchita. So, in a sense, a ben shmeina, although he doesn't have shchita in his own right, but he does relate to shchita on account of his mother. Our Tana wasn't concerned about this. That it relates to the mother and he's part of the mother's category. That's we're focusing on the actual undeveloped fetus on his own, and on his own he has no shchita, so he's not part of our equation. Because I can't disprove or shed light in any way on the question of whether shechita done on a fully developed kosher animal, which happens to be a treifa, will it impact it somewhat to the extent that it spares it from tahar, from tumah? Very possible. Despite the fact that ben shmeina doesn't, because ben shmeina is out of the shechita realm. Ulahai tana de paruch. But according to the Tana of the Brisa, which seems to consider ben shmeina within the realm of shechita, at least on account of his mother, and still, if you do shechita on this ben shmeina, it has no positive effect. So back to the question, so why would we say that every kosher animal that happens to be a treifa, shechita can help it from becoming tamei? Why would it be different than an unkosher animal where shechita has no positive benefit? And you can't say, well, a kosher animal is different because it's part of the, there is shechita in its type. Well, a ben shmeina has shechita in its type, i.e. on account of his mother, and still the shechita doesn't help him much. So then why can't we just compare every treifa to an unkosher animal? Shechita has no impact whatsoever. Look, if it's not going to permit you and go all the way, it does nothing. Lahai tana de parach. So according to the Tana that we just mentioned, that refutes our point, then treifa de shchitasa tarasa menola. How does he know the basic fact that by a kosher animal, fully developed, which happens to be a treifa, where the shechita can't really permit it for consumption, how do we know? At least it does tahara, that protects it from tumah. Why would it be different than an elephant, a camel, a non-kosher animal where shechita has no say? He must have another source. Nafkale midar Vidam Rav. Oh, the Amar Vidam Rav. Amar, some say it was a brayz, Masi Satana. Amakro, we have a pasuk that even when shechita cannot accomplish both objectives, even if it can't be mater la'achila, but at least it can protect it from becoming tam. Amakro. V'chiyamas v'na behema. If some of the animal dies, it becomes a treifa. Sometimes, and generates tumah, sometimes and sometimes not. Miktsas behema matama, sometimes it is matama, miktsas behema matama, sometimes not. Ve'ezayzu, which is the exceptions of treifa, sheshachta. There you go. An animal which is unwell, a treifa, you can't eat it. But the shechita at least will spare it from becoming an avela. So that's the bottom line. Shechita on a treifa is matayr from becoming an avela, either because of the source, or because of the Mishnah's rationalization and differentiation between that and a behemoth tmei. Boy Rav Hoshi. Here comes a new question. Hoshid es yadai l'mei behema. As we're going to see in the next Mishnah, we discussed this in the past as well, a ben pekua, meaning an unborn animal found inside the mother after shechita, will be mutter and covered by the mother's shechita. But let's say it's a fully developed 9-month, full-term unborn animal. According to Rameir, it's not covered by the mother's shechita. It needs its own shechita. According to Rabban, it is. Okay, here goes. Stuck his hand into the animal stomach. He took his knife and he did shechita on the full-term unborn animal inside the mother's stomach. Mao, what happens? Is it mutter or not? Now, Tiboy the Rameir, this question could be posed according to Rameir, who says that a ben teschai needs his own shechita. it can be presented according to the Rabbanan as well. Explains the Gemara. The question arises according to Rav Meir, who says that a ben tes chai needs his own shechita. Ad kan lekam Rav Meir. Perhaps Rav Meir only says that ben pekua ton shechita, a fully developed, a full-term unborn animal discovered inside his mother after shechita, requires his own shechita because he's his own thing. That's only true if he left out, the environment. He went out and he was exposed to the environment outside. He was born. So once he's born, he gains his own independence. But in this case, he's still tucked inside. Inside his mother, perhaps shechita is not effective in that type of setting. You have to wait until he's born. Or you can say, on the other hand, even going to Rabban who say that even a fully developed ben pekua is covered by the mother's shechita, there are two options. You can choose to have it covered by the mother's shechita. You can choose to shecht him on his own. There's an expression here, dalat simanim, ach sheberachmana. Typically, shechita is done on two simanim, right? The two tubes. Typically, it's two. Here you have a choice of four. You can either choose to shecht the mother's simanim and exempt the unborn, or shecht the unborn directly. Amar Chananya Tashma, I will attempt to prove this, to resolve this question from our Mishnah. Mishnah mentioned that a treifa, right, an animal which has a serious defect, can still do shechita on it, at least to spare it from becoming an avela. And it's very different than an unkosher animal, because here it had a shasa kosher, had a moment in time before it became defective, before it got this injury. So it had that potential to become mutar b'achila as well. That was, part of the discussion now in Mishnah. Tashma hareisha noidol treifa min habeten. And the Mishnah countered and responded to that by saying, well, it depends when the injury happened. Let's say it was born with it. Shenod treifa min habeten. In that case, you can never do a proper shechita on it to matter it because it was born with this defect. End quote. Now, why is that so? No shechita is relevant. No shechita is possible if he was born defective. What about shechting him before he was born, inside? If you can do so, right? If it is so, if in fact it's true that you can shecht pre-birth, even in this case, when it was born defective, it could still have had a moment in time of potentiality for a proper shechita inside the mother's stomach. The boy, because if he wishes, he inserts his hands, and he shechts inside. Amalei Rava. Says Rava, you're right, the Mishnah is not talking about born with a defect. It was formed with a defect from inception. Amalei Rava, Tani, we'll revise the Mishnah. The Mishnah means it was conceived as a treifa way back when. For instance, balas heraglai. It was born with 5 legs, with 3 hind legs. That happened from conception. It was conceived that way. So it never had a moment in time that it would be kosher. And that's what the Mishnah means. So back to our question, it can very well be that you can shecht inside. The Mishnah is not talking about a case which would lend to that. Continues the Mishnah. So the shechita was done on the mother animal, and they discovered a ben pekua inside. The matzah ben shmoina chai. Either he was an undeveloped, not a full term, only an 8-month fetus, alive, oy mace, or without life, oy ben tisha mace, or he was a full term 9-month unborn, calf, but he was lifeless. In these cases, all agree it's covered by the mother shechita. Even Rav Meir agrees. Kairei. So he opens the ben pekua without shechita, he rips it up, moitzias damai, extracts the blood. So although, Rashi points this out, although the chelev the fat, which is typically forbidden in an animal, in this case it's mutter because it's all one big clump. It's part of the mother's flesh. It doesn't have its own independent identity. So it's not really called chelev. He's not really his own animal. He's not his own chelev, right? It's just one big chunk of flesh. Umaytzi is dam, but dam is different because dam, Farshim explained, is part of the general circulatory system of the mother animal. So although you wouldn't really consider this necessarily life force blood, dam nefesh, but it's certainly considered dam ha'evarim, blood that you would find in the evarim of the animal, which is asur. There's no kares on it. It's not the more severe level of blood, but there's a malchus upon eating it. So everything except for the blood is mutter. Oh, here comes the machlekes. Motzah ben tisha chai. What if you found inside the mother a ben tisha, full-term animal, chai alive, ton shchita? According to Rameir, it needs its own shchita. It's not covered by the mother. V'chayev boisei lesbenai. If he wishes to shech the mother and this offspring, you can't do it on the same day because you can't. No, shchita required for the offspring. Shchita simim tarasa. Shchita, the mother covers it, no problem. Despite being full term and fully developed. We turn to the base. Rav Shimon Shazuri Aimer, he takes it a step further. Afilu ben chamesh shanim. You have this ben pekua, 5 years old, big husky animal. V'chodesh besad out in the field working for you. Shchitas imam tarasa. Don't worry about shchita. It's covered by the mother's shchita way back when. And even though it appears like a full animal and it's in a way confusing, why you? Not to worry. Concludes the Mishnah. Let's say there was no shchita done on the mother. So all this is where shchita was done on the mother, it covers the child. But kara, he rips open the mother without shchita. Matzah b'mentes chai. He does a surgical operation and he uncovers a full term inside. So on shchita, of course, it needs its own shchita. Because there's no shchita on the mother. Amar bazar v'eishir. According to the Chachamim, even a full term ben pekua is covered by the mother. That only pertains to matters of shchita. It's covered by the mother. Shchita, you can eat it. As opposed to other matters, where it's considered its own full animal. What are you excluding? What are you referring to? As opposed to the chelev of the ben pekua, the gir hanashe, and you're suggesting that they are asur, like any other full animal. Really? Chelev demai. Which chelev are we talking about? The chelev of the shlil of the unborn. Well, it really depends on whether you consider it covered by the mother or not. It links to that discussion, right? Meaning, if the mother shchita covers it, which indicates that the ben pekua doesn't have his own identity, is not his own animal, so the chelev inside is mutter. And vice versa. Miflek pligi, it depends on this machlek, this anya. We have a brayso, gid hanash she'noeg b'shlil v'chal b'yasser. According to Rameir, this full-term ben pekua is not covered by the mother. He's his own person, own animal. So it's gid hanash and its chelev is aser. Rabbi Doimer, no, it's mutter. It's just a chunk of meat. Ein noeg b'shlil v'chal b'mutter. There's no gid hanash, there's no chelev. She explains to us that in fact it's linked to the machlekes in the Mishnah, right? Machlekes ben teschai. The machlekes that we just discussed is by the full-term ben pekua, alive and well, in the mother's stomach after shchita. And this is, it's based on this question, whether the mother's shchita covers it. Rameir says that the chelev and gid hanash applies. L'shitasa is consistent with his opinion that it's his own animal. Rabbi L'shitasa says it's covered by the mother, so it's mutter. So there's no difference between whether it's a discussion about the shchita, about the chelev, about the gid. It's all one big package. El l'chel b'de gid. Rather, perhaps when Rabbi Yishai says that there's something that is not part of this equation, that's the chelev of the gid. So the gid is the actual nerve, gid hanash, and then you have the chelev, which is the fat around it. And perhaps, regarding the chelev, which we're going to see is only the Rabbana, perhaps it's not an issue by the even by the full term ben pekua. Even Rameir would agree you can have it. No, again it links to the same machlekes. Miflek pligi, there's the same machlekes there as well. The sani gid hanashe How far-reaching is the Gid Anash? Mechatet achar b'chol makom shehu v'choytech shamna mi'ikar. According to our mayor, he'll dig in all the way into the, deep into the skin, into the flesh, and pull them out. V'choytech shamna mi'ikar, and pull out with the fat, all the way from the root, from the bottom. And this is even by a ben pekua. B'chol makom, in any situation, no difference. Divir mayor. It's all asur. No, you don't have to dig down and uproot it from the from the source. Just trim it, whatever is shayfi is the glob of flesh there. You just have to sort of trim the gira nasha, the protruding part. But the right, so the chaylev that's on top, but the chaylev that's deep inside. So the gid on top and the chaylev on top. The chaylev is the fat, which is also in Rabbanan. It looks like the gid, but deep inside, the shirashin of the chaylev is mutter. In any case, clearly according to our mayor, we don't differentiate between a regular animal and pekua. You got to clean out everything. So what then did he mean when he said that this full-term ben pekua, according to Rabbanan, is only covered by the mother's shchita regarding shchita issues and not other matters? Ella itmar rather was learned like this. Our Mishnah relates to eating matters. When the Chacham permitted the ben pekua, it's limited to matters of eating. You could eat it without shchita. You could eat the chaylev, the gid. It's a glob of meat in the mother. As opposed to alamute, as opposed to roivai. If a person physically interacts inappropriately with boy, or regarding plowing with it, hitching it up with another type of animal, which is kilayim, right? A different type, you're not allowed to do that. So, yeah, regarding achila matters, the pekua is covered. Regarding behavioral matters, in that case, we treat it like any other animal. It's not like a piece of flesh. Regarding other matters, it has halacha like any animal. Kilayim, etc. Omar Rab Shimon Lakish. Here comes another question. So the Rabbanan permit a full-term ben pekua due to the mother shchita, and that covers the chaylev as well. About the dam, the blood of that ben pekua. Omar Rab Shimon Lakish. So according to Rish Lakish, it goes hand in hand. So according to Rabbi Yehuda, who allows consumption of the ben pekua, allows the chaylev as well, and allows the blood as well. The one that permits the chaylev, i.e. Rabbi Yehuda, matar b'dam, allows the blood as well. It's just, one big glob. However, according to Rabbi Meir, it says that the ben pekua is not covered by the shchita. The chaylev is also it's like a behemoth, like a full-term animal. So the blood is off limits as well. It goes hand in hand. Rabbi Yechon Amar, he disagrees. Even the one that allows the chaylev, the blood is off limits. We'll explain this all in a minute. Rabbi Yechon has a question from the Mishnah. That the blood is off limits. You can rip open the ben pekua without shchita. You have to extract the blood. The blood is off limits. How could you say it's mutter? No, Amar Rab Zera, he never meant that it's mutter. He just meant to say it's not called dam hanefesh. It's not considered, life force blood. Because it doesn't have its own life, the ben pekua. It's not considered life blood. Loy mashein arish karis. All Rish Lakish meant to say is that there's no karis on this blood. Of course, it's like regular blood from the limbs, and where there's a lav, not to eat it, but it doesn't have the higher level, the higher strictness of dam hanefesh, life blood, life force blood, because it doesn't have its own life. It's a ben pekua, which is sort of a piece of the mother's flesh. Says the Gemara, hold it, but we're speaking according to the shita that covers the ben pekua by the mother's shchita, which is Rabbi Yehuda, right? Now Rabbi Yehuda considers even non-life force blood on the same level in a way like life force blood. There's a curse on that. So what do you gain? Leman Kamrin, who are we talking about? Rabbi Yehuda, well, lo yehel damatamtzis, even not the initial, forceful blood, even the damatamtzis, which trickles out afterwards. If one eats it, there's kares. And this blood is no different. The son you have a price of damatamtzis. This damatamtzis that's sort of squeezed out of the bashara. There's only a lav on that. That's the chacham. Rabbi Yehuda, no, be kares. There's kares on this as well. Says the Gemara. Ter Gemara of Yosef Breder of Salah Chasida. He explained, he resolved this issue. Coming to Rapapa. Isle Rabbi Yehuda, dam v'chol dam. According to Rabbi Yehuda, you know why damatamtzis, which is a lower level, there's like 3 levels of blood. Just to get it clear, there's the damanefesh, the blood which represents the life force of an animal. All agree there's kares upon eating that. There's damatamtzis, which sort of trickles out afterwards, which is subject to machlokes. Chacham said there's no kares, only a lav. According to Rabbi Yehuda, it says v'chol dam. V'chol covers this as well. Isla Rabbi Yehuda, dam v'chol dam. Rabbi Yehuda is based on the pasuk of dam v'chol dam. And then we have something called dam eivarim. You squeeze some blood out of the foot. That's called dam eivarim. All agree that's the lowest level. There's only a lav on that. Okay, so back to the mid-level, damatamtzis. So the dam that we find in this ben pakua, even though you won't consider it dam nefesh because it doesn't have its own life, but at least let it be considered damatamtzis, right? Which according to Rabbi Yehuda, there's a lav, there's a chorus based on v'chol dam. Islay, the Rabbi Yehuda is based on the pasuk which says v'chol dam. Dam, it could have said dam v'chol dam covers even the damatamtzis, and there's a correlation. There's a linkage between the two, according to Rish Lakish at least. In a situation, a regular animal where there's dam nefesh. If there's liability for dam nefesh, so even if it's level 2, there's chiv kares as well. They're linked. But in this ben pakua, there's no concept of dam nefesh. There's no level 1. Likewise, there's no level 2. So at most, according to Rish Lakish, it will be considered level 3. There's a lav. But according to Rabbi Yechon, he doesn't hold of this correlation between level 1 and level 2. Even if you can't have it level 1, it's still considered level 2, and there is kares on that as well. Okay, so bottom line is, you find a full-term ben pakua in the mother after shechita. According to Rabbi requires its own shechita. According to Rabban, it's covered by the mother shechita. You can have the basar, you can have the chelev. Dam you can't. According to Rish Lakish, it's only a lav. According to Rabbi Yechon, it's even kares. Now comes another question regarding this full-term ben pakua. Iboilu, my lifta is ben pakua. Could I do pidyon, redemption, using this sheep that popped out of his mother's stomach after shechita? Full-term sheep. Doesn't need its own shechita according to Rabbanon. And I happen to have a firstborn donkey. Petach Chamar. I want to make a pidyon Petach Chamar. Give the sheep to the kohen instead of the... Now this question would not apply to Rameir. The Kivan, the Amar, since he says it needs its own shechita, then it's its own animal. It's a regular animal like anything else. Of course it's suitable for redemption purposes. Toyin shechita, sema it's a regular set, it's a regular sheep. The question is according to Rabban. You say shechita simim tarasa, the mother shechita covers it. No. How would you define this sheep here? What's his status regarding redemption purposes? Given the amr shechita simim tarasa, once they consider the mother shechita as coverage for this, so perhaps it's not considered like an animal. Kibisra, it's like a piece of meat, but they're cool in a basket. Piece of meat. Now, if this piece of meat would be worth as much as this donkey, then Rashi says you can use it, because you can use any item of value which corresponds to the value of the... But it was speaking that it's not matching up in value, it's worth less. Now, if it were considered a real animal, then you can use it. And that's the question, is it a real animal or just a piece of meat? Or you can say, no, the fact is, he walks and talks like a sheep. Kivan the roit vazli, he's running there, roit vazli running back, he looks like a sheep, seh. The label seh can be applied to karina, but we can apply to it. Mazurchu amar machlekes, he says ain't poidin, you can't use it. Rav Ashi amar poidin, you could use it. Amalei Rav Ashi mazurchu, why not? My daitich. What are you based on? The pasuk, the gamris. It says seh over here by the redemption. It says the seh by the carbon pesach and pesachim. We connect the two. Just like over there by the pesach, he can't use this. You know why? He wasn't born naturally. Pasuk excludes a yotzei doif and something which wasn't born naturally. Since he did not really undergo a proper birth experience, he's not suitable for a carbon. So perhaps you can't use it for pidin petachamar either. Well, if you're making a correlation, make it all the way. Ima lahal, if that's the case, and just like over there by pesach, you have many more requirements. It has to be a zochor, a male animal, tamim, unblemished, ben shama within the first year of birth. Are you going to require all those requirements by pidin petachamar? Of course not. Afkan here as well, zochor, tamim ben shana. Well, the answer to that is, it says tifta twice in the pasuk, redeem, which covers all these possibilities as well. Tifta riba covers all those. Okay, so if it covers those, let it cover the bepekua as well. Tifta riba, if you're going to include from tifta, include even this case too. So what's your question? Imkain if I'm going to cover every possible scenario, then what about the seh? Like the reshava, that I need to conform somewhat to the standards of the current Pesach. And it's more likely, Rashi says, that if I have to pick something and rule it out, it's more likely the ben pekua to be a problem than the fact that he's underage and all that. Here it's like reminiscent of a piece of meat, and therefore this one cannot be used for pidin petachamor. Here comes another question. Ibaylu. Again, back to the same ben pekua. Ma'u limna is b'rishon v'sheni. So you shechted the mother. Okay, the mother is now a piece of meat. Oichel, susceptible to tumah. Right? So if something touches the mother animal, it's a piece of meat, it becomes tummy. Likewise, the unborn inside is also a piece of meat. It doesn't need shchita. It's oichel, it's food like anything else. So it becomes tummy. The question is like this. Are they two items or one? So let's say the mother animal became a rishon l'tumah. The animal is still embedded inside. Is it also rishon l'tumah because it's one and the same entity? Or do we say, no, it's like two separate things. This is a rishon and the inside is a sheni. What about counting on it, rishon v'sheni? Rabbi Yechon Amar, you have to count. The mother is a rishon and the ben pekua is a sheni. After all, it's a separate thing. Separate item. Rabbi Shimon Malakish Amar says, no. It's all one and the same piece of meat. Ain't moine by rishon v'sheni. We don't count rishon v'sheni. You know why not? So it's like ke'egoiz, like a nut, hameskashkesh, which is rattling with kupas in its shell, which is protecting it. So the mother animal is sort of protecting it. It's one and the same entity. Eisvei Rabbi Shimon Malakish, he had a question to Rabbi Yechanan. You're saying that ben pekua is like a separate item? Here comes an interesting halach. We had this a couple of days ago. We had the arm of the uber which went out of bounds, right? And then the shechta, the mother habasar magan avela. The rest of the uber which was in contact with that escapee arm is considered as though it touched an avela and it's tamei. Divrei Meir. V'chacham oimrim magat treifa shchuta. No, it's not like an avela. It's treifa shchuta. We discussed this many times. Now the question is a more basic question: how did the uber become tamei? Food only becomes tummy once you open the door to tumah, which is done by way of hechsher, by getting it wet. It has to have exposure to liquid. How in the world did the uber inside have exposure to liquid? I mean, the mother outside did. There was shchita, there was blood. What about the uber? According to me, it works out very well. I say it's one and the same body, one and the same entity. So once shchita is done on the mother, there's blood. And since the mother animal was exposed to the blood, so that affects the whole entity, including the uber inside. Hainu diskasher, that explains how it got hechsher, got enabled for tumah bedama through the blood, the ime, which the mother came into contact with. It's all one and the same thing. Ela dedach. But according to you, that the uber is a separate entity, but my iskasher, where was the hechsher on the uber? He wasn't exposed to the blood of the shchita, only the mother was. Only he says, b'shchita korab. You're right. That mission is going like Reb Shimon, who says that it's not the blood per se that makes the mother susceptible to tumah. It's the act of shchita, the shchita experience, which has a transformative effect. It turns an animal into food. But that completes the process and renders it complete, finished food product, which makes it open to tumah. Now, that will equally affect the uber as well, because as we're learning all the time, the uber is covered by the mother shechita. It is as though it had already also experienced the shechita with the mother, so the shechita experience applies equally to the uber, and it's open for tumah. Eisvei comes another kash. Rabbi Yechon asked Rabbi Shimon Lakish. I say it's 2 entities, you say it's 1, right? The Brisa says Avar ben Nahar. So the Ben Pekua, after he was extracted from the mother, after shechita, he took a walk through the river. Hukshar, that makes him Hushar l'kabel tumah because he got wet. Now, if he takes a walk in the cemetery, he becomes tummy. Startling thing, and a live animal is tummy, unbelievable. Hagabes akvaris, walking to the cemetery, nitma becomes tummy. But you need exposure to liquid. Bishlem l'dedi da'amina tregofaninu works very well according to me that the Ben Pekua and the mother are 2 separate entities. So the Ben Pekua needs its own hechsher to pave its way for tumah. Mishum hachi yuchshar in. That explains why. Only if it got its own hechsher, took a walk through the the pool. Lie in. Lo yuchshar, but otherwise, if it wasn't exposed to his own water exposure, no, there's no tumah. El didach, according to you, the Amrasu says chad gufahu, the Ben Pekua and the mother are one and the same entity. Why bother taking a walk through the river? The Ben Pekua receives hechsher through the mother, who is exposed to blood during the shechita. We turn to the next page. B'shechita yiveshta. Okay, we're speaking about an unusual case where there was no blood by the shechita. Okay, it happened. So there was no blood exposure, and in terms of the shechita experience itself, like Reb Shimon, we're not going like Reb Shimon that itself can make it hechsher. In which case, there was no hechsher on the mother or the Ben Pekua, and that's why the Brisa speaks about the Ben Pekua taking a walk through the river, because only that gives it hechsher. Okay, continue B'ez Hashem tomorrow. In a nutshell, we spoke about the Ben Shmoina, which has no shechita. We spoke about a Ben Pekua discovered in the mother. If it's a Ben Shmoina, if it's even a Ben Tisha, but it's lifeless, it's covered by the mother. Ben Tisha Chai, that's subject to machlekes. When the Rameh needs its own shechita, when the Rabbanan does not. We had a shayla whether he shechted inside. What happens? According to the Rabbanan, just as it's covered in terms of shechita, it's also covered in terms of chelev, and somewhat in terms of dam. We had a shayla regarding using it for pidyon, peter chamar, machlekes. And in a case where the mother animal became tummy after the shechita, whether it just automatically carries over to the Ben Pekua, or do we sort of consider like 2 separate entities, and it goes down a level, it comes from Rishon to Sheni. That also sort of links into the question whether the Ben Pekua needs its own hechsher. We had a whole discussion about that as well. Okay, all the best to you, and Hatzlacha Rabbah.